Welcome to the Play in Faith podcast, where we dive into the world of sports through the lens of optimism, inspiration, and faith. We're on a mission to infuse youth sports culture with positivity and joy while building the largest network of college Christian athlete mentors in the world. Thanks for stopping by. Enjoy today's show.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It is Coach Chris from the Play in Faith podcast. I am super excited today. We're going to talk some volleyball. It's long overdue, and we have a fantastic guest today, Miss Chandra Hepler. She is the head coach at Warsaw and has decades of high-level volleyball experience, coaching and playing. Man, it's going to be a great day. So how are we doing, Chandra? How's it going?
Excellent. I mean, I guess it's first thing kind of in the morning. So far, so good, right? Get to start the day out here and talking about my favorite sport and favorite people.
Yeah, you can't beat it. We are for those of you in the worldwide audience. We are both here in northern Indiana. We finally have some school. It's been a lot of school closures and snowy roads. But hey, that's volleyball, basketball season, right? You can be indoor and in the gym. It's kind of nice. So obviously, your all season is already wrapped up. You had a fantastic season. So tell me a little bit about just what you're doing at Warsaw, your role there, a little bit about your program.
Sure. So I've been the head coach now at Warsaw for 6 years. So this will be my 7th season this fall. And we've had a phenomenal 6 years here at Warsaw. We've won conference the last 4 years in a row, which the last 5 out of 6. And we've a lot of athletes to celebrate, a lot of athletes that have gone on to play Division I, Division II, NAIA, which is the majority of my seniors that go on. We are a 4A school, so we're pretty large, so very competitive in this arena. Our conference, we're in the Northern Lakes Conference with Wawasee as well. Northwood usually seems to be a stopper for us, if we get to that point. The last 5 years have been pretty good for our program. So, I think it has taken some time to get the right people on the bus and to get the culture established the way that we wanted it to. But we've made runs. We've won sectionals the last 4 years in a row, and we've been regional runner-up. Always hoping to win that regional championship as well and to get into that Final Four. So working on breaking through that upper echelon and also moving our athletes as far as they can go.
Yeah, well, you guys are doing great things. I mean, for our listeners nationwide, Warsaw's playing in Northern Indiana, playing in the Northern Lakes Conference, one of the best conferences in the state of Indiana. Warsaw's had those of you who listened before, we've had some Warsaw basketball folks and some other folks on. A ton of success across a wide spectrum of sports. And one of the things I love that we talk about often on Play in Faith is, we want to win some games on the court, on the field, but we also are trying to do a little bit more, right? We're building higher level athletes and leaders. And so when you talk about getting some of that culture established, it does take a little while. So tell me a little bit about how you guys developed some of that culture where you are sending kids to the next level. You are bringing athletes who expect to compete at the highest level. So how did you build some of that culture?
Well, I think for us, it's really important that we are servant leaders first. And so that was really important in establishing with our senior class that we're not just leaders because of our seniority, but that is earned and that a lot of that is through the respect and the way that you guys lead. And so really it has been servant leadership first in the locker room, on the bus, in class, watching the underclassmen try to be role models to that. We pick up the trash on the bench, everywhere we go, it's about others and putting others before ourselves and putting that team before ourselves. And so, I think sometimes in today's day and age, it's all about me and it's about instant results. And for us, it is talking about the process and just trusting that process and trusting the coaches, trusting yourself and your teammates, but also putting them before yourself, because in doing that, that also heightens your career and your pathway as well. And that's not just in volleyball, that's in life as well. And I think, for me, one of my goals and my most important goal and purpose has always been to raise them as great leaders, great athletes, great volleyball players, but also someday knowing that they're going to be wives, and knowing too that my job also to help them be a better daughter, a better student, a better volleyball player, but a better friend in general. And so keeping all of
Yeah.
that in mind with our leaders as we talk with not just our captains, but our team in general, and just keeping that servant leadership first.
Yeah, I think that's kind of our motto too, right? Like sports is just one of the greatest vehicles, the greatest dress rehearsal for life for teaching a lot of those skills. And no matter how incredible anyone is at their sport, it's a season of life. It's temporary, but we are going to be community leaders, business leaders, family leaders, much longer. I imagine with some of that servant leadership you talked about, leadership, it's not just, hey, I'm a senior, I'm in charge now. And I think a lot of athletes grow up that way. Um, and at a program like yours, especially where you are a large school, you're a deep
Yeah.
program, you have this kind of high level talent, people might have to wait their turn a little bit more.
Yeah.
Where you probably have some sophomores in your program that would be stars for 75% of the teams in the state.
Right.
So how do you balance some of that dynamic where, let's say you have a year where your best player's not a senior, where you've
Right.
got a sophomore who's a superstar? How do you kind of balance that leadership dynamic? It's difficult.
It is really difficult. And I've always been one. I mean, I've met different coaches who have different philosophies that seniority rules, and because you're a senior, you get to stay on the team. But a lot of it has greatly been impacted by our athletic director and his thoughts on seniority, in a large environment and so competitive like Warsaw is.
Mhm.
Just because you're a senior doesn't mean you're going to play. And a lot of times with those seniors who aren't going to play, are, I hate to say it, but kind of our motto across the board with athletics is if they're a senior and they don't play, you have that hard conversation and it's their choice if they want to stay or you cut them. Just
Sure.
because I think a lot of times, one bad apple rots the bunch. So if you have somebody who has that discussion up front and they say, hey, I'm okay with not playing, I'm okay with that role, but halfway through the season, mom and dad aren't okay with that.
Well, that's
Um,
probably it.
that causes a lot of animosity,
It
and
does.
a lot of issues amongst the team. So really, it's getting everybody on board at the beginning with the same goal in mind, and whether that is freshman led or sophomore led, that's okay because they have been humbled. They are leaders naturally,
Sure.
and sometimes whether that's a locker room conversation or a bus conversation, they have earned that right as a freshman or sophomore just as much as that senior based on our culture and our environment,
Sure.
that everybody's, opinion is respected and honored. And a lot of times it's happened to be a freshman or sophomore. I've got, my own daughter's been voted on as a captain for the last 4 years. And it's not always about the best player. It's not, that's the person who should lead us. A lot of my girls who are our leaders are the ones that aren't getting a lot of the court time,
Sure.
but they are leaders in life, and great role models, not just on the court, but off the court.
Yeah, and when you say having that tough conversation, I think that's really what a lot of it comes down to. Where are we setting some of those clear expectations? And those conversations, we got a lot of coaches that are listening right now, and it's not fun. I think sometimes less experienced or maybe even less talented coaches just sort of assume people know what their role is, or they'll figure it out, or they're going to be okay. But I do think that's a really wonderful step of when you have some of these upperclassmen having that honest, tough conversation of, look, this is where we are. Is this a role you can accept because it's a valuable one? But if that
Right.
role doesn't resonate with you, then it's probably time to explore other activities, and that's
So,
never fun. But I mean, I think you're actually in the long run, it's a much more courteous way to deal with it.
well, and two, I add one more layer to that. I mean, excuse me, I have player meetings at the beginning of the season, halfway, and then at the end of the season. At the beginning, I have agreements that they sign based on what
Sure.
their role is. And so they take that home and discuss it with mom and dad. I haven't gone quite as far as inviting mom and dad into the meetings that we have. That is something that I have processed through. I do know several of our coaches that do that at Warsaw, and I've had success with that because a lot of times, for kids, what they're hearing is not necessarily what's getting conveyed at home. And so parents
Yeah.
sometimes aren't on the same page with what the
Right.
coaches are and even the players. And so making sure you have that consistent conversation and communication with them, I think is really important. And then at the parent meeting, I'm very specific about expectations
Sure.
for players and our parents. And I go through a list of probably 20 expectations that I have for parents and what their role looks like. And if we can't agree to that, then maybe it's better for their daughter to find somewhere else to better suit her abilities.
Yeah, and it's so tough for the kids too because look, almost every kid I've ever encountered wants to do what's best for the team and wants to do what's
Right,
best for coach.
right.
And Julie, most kids will buy in, but it is tough. I even hear it at like the youth level. I'll hear it in the bleachers where
Mhm.
you're getting pumped with this kid shouldn't be playing, this kid stinks, and that stuff trickles in, and it's very very difficult on the kid when they're
Yes.
getting conflicting things at home. So I think that's good that you guys are having those conversations. I know just from meeting so many Warsaw coaches, I think that's a kind of a consistent staple across Warsaw athletics, and maybe the fact that it's one of the most successful athletic programs in Indiana is not a coincidence, huh?
Yeah. Could be.
It could be. I mean, like it's decent geography, but I mean, look, you're not in Indianapolis, right? I mean, like we're not pulling from the same natural, massive talent base that you are in huge cities, but Warsaw has carved out an elite niche. So you mentioned obviously your daughter has played for many years for you. She is a senior now. So give me the 30-second brag. Come on, she's earned it. So what's
I
next for
know.
Ellie?
She's so Ellie is committed to Indiana volleyball, Indiana
Let's
University
go.
in Bloomington.
All right.
Go Hoosiers, right? What a great time to be joining Bloomington and B Town and the Big Ten
Joke.
Conference. National championship and Fernando Mendoza, bug friend. So but for Ellie, super excited. Her journey has just been one of dedication and commitment. We drive 2 hours one way for club practice, have done that for over a decade now. We practice 3 times a week. I mean, the investment that has been made not only by her, but sacrifices for our family as well, so that she could do and succeed in what it is that she loves. She loves her teammates more than anything. She's been a 3-time AAU national champion, a 2-time AAU All-American. We've all the accolades and awards. I mean, honestly, I have pages I could list for you, but the most important thing for her is that she is a Christ follower, first and foremost, and everything she does reflects that. And she's one of the most humble players probably I've ever coached, which is ironic because she is my daughter. And, humble was something that I did not specialize in growing up, unfortunately.
I think
Um,
it's good to brag on your kid a little. I think this one's
yeah,
good. We gave you the minute latitude because look, man, when you get to, I imagine that's her childhood dream, right? When you
yes,
get to where you are
100%.
playing at
Yes.
a one of the best programs in the country, you get to stay home, you get to play in one of the best athletic conferences in the country. I mean, what an incredible accomplishment. And yeah, we tend to have more adults from a legal set. Like, look, some of the high school kids we've had on here, they are
Yeah.
far more, they're more mature than we are. They're insane, right? Like I know
Yes.
she's buddies with
Yes.
Jocelyn. We had her on. It's unbelievable.
Yes.
So maybe we can drag Ellie out here as well. I think it'd be cool to hear her perspective on the whole journey too. But something I find very interesting as we kind of get into like the parent side,
Mhm.
because a lot of our audience are parents. I mean, we're raising athletes. Your dog must be on the
My
podcast.
chat tail, sorry.
No, it's all good, but we're mostly audio, but the video that'll be cute. So a lot of our parents that are listening, they're raising athletes now. Look, at the level that Ellie has achieved, hard work and all of those things are absolutely part of it. There is also a little bit of God-given ability. You look at the state of Indiana, as good as we are in sports. Like I know, I don't know the exact number for volleyball. I think for basketball last year, I think we had 8 girls, maybe 9, signed D1 letters,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
I think only 2 of them were like major power conference.
Yeah.
So there are thousands of girls that are working super crazy hard, getting everything they can out of their ability and accomplishing a lot of great things. But that D1 level up there is rarefied air. So a little bit of gift from God, but also, man, you guys buckled in at an early age, and
We
that is
did.
something that I'm sure a few parents heard right now and said, "Yep, let's go," and
Yeah.
probably a lot of them
Yeah.
gasped and said, "Oh my goodness, like
Yeah.
that is quite a commitment." So let's backtrack. That
Sure.
commitment started when she was 10,
10.
10
Mhm.
years old.
Actually started playing when she was 9, but we started the drive to Boilers when she was 10. So
So I know we've talked about this off air. Obviously, that's a not necessarily a tough decision, but it's a big decision for
it
families.
is.
Is
It
it
is.
too young? What is the right age?
Mhm.
So what was the tipping point for you all that got you to say, like, look, this is the right move for Ellie, and this is also the right move for our family because
Yeah,
look, we're all in this together, right? So how did you
right.
get to that point? That's a big decision.
Well, let me preface by going back and saying, so my dad was a Division 1 football player. My brother was a Division 1 football player. So we are a sports oriented family. So everything in our life kind of was surrounded by that, right? So
A
all of
lot of nods at home right now
I mean,
too. Everyone's like, yep, yep, yep.
I was a Division 1 athlete. So yeah, so
Sure,
we are a sports family, right?
sure.
So she's had a ball in her hand since, I mean, she could walk and in a crib, but I think the most important thing was relationally, I knew the coach that she was going to be playing for, and it was John Shondell. In the volleyball world, the Shondells are very well known, very well respected, have had a lot of success with Dr. Shondell, started men's volleyball at Ball State, and legendary Dave Shondell, who's at Purdue University, and then John as well, who was at Purdue, and he's now at Wisconsin volleyball. So I knew John. I had played at Munciana, which is down in Yorktown, which is also Shondell oriented. So I knew the person that we were getting involved with, and I had a lot of trust and a lot of faith.
Hmm.
He had reached out to me to ask if Ellie would be on his 10U team. And I think the important thing was a couple of things. First, we asked Ellie, what is it you want to achieve? I know you're 10, but when you think about big picture, is volleyball something you'd want to do in college? Is that something you want to do in high school? Do you just want to have fun and play with your friends? And from the start, it was, I want to go as far as I can, so if
So let's hit
after,
pause real quick here. Say it one
yeah,
more time. The person driving this primary decision was
the daughter, the athlete. Yep,
right.
100%.
And the reason I
So,
pause there is I think it's definitely twofold, right? I mean, like, look, not every 10-year-old's going to make perfect
right,
decisions. So it's our job as parents to help guide some of those. But I
100.
am finding just look, that's the age that I'm raising right now. So we're in that world. I'm finding that it's hit or miss. I've got some girls that I encounter that are exactly Ellie. They
Yeah,
have a ton of, maybe not quite that level of talent, but they're very talented. They're a gift from God. They love the sport. They wake up thinking about it. They love their teammates. There's nothing they'd rather do on a Saturday or Sunday than be in that gym participating in their sport. I
yeah,
also see more than a handful of girls that do not feel that way,
right.
but mom and dad are just brazenly living a second chance at their childhood through these poor, poor, poor kids. So I
Yes.
think that's just a pause there off my soapbox, but I like that your daughter was driving that decision in conjunction with you guys.
100%. And I think that was important for us to recognize to get her in an environment where we knew the people
Yeah.
that she would be with, but also when after her first practice, when she was 10U and she left, she got in the car and just so happy said, these are my people. Like she knew immediately.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if she could sense but every one of the players that were on her team, their parents were either a Division 1 player of one sport or both parents were players of a D1 sport. So we were all committed on that same level. I think it was almost easy to see we were all bought into, oh, you want to practice on Christmas Eve? All right, we're in. You want to practice on New Year's Day? All right, we're in. Like we're
Well,
going 6 days a week. Oh, you mean COVID? What's that? You mean we're still practicing? I mean, it was like we were all bought in from the beginning. And I think that's really important as well, is not just the athlete making that decision, but the parents have to be bought in and they have to be just as committed
yeah.
on that level as well. Because if you're not all on the same page, it's not going to work long term. And I think that was the important thing for us with Ellie was, hey, we're just going to take this 1 year at a time. We're not asking you to
Okay.
make a 10-year commitment right now.
Perfect.
Baby steps, right?
Mhm.
So, and as your body grows and develops and as you mature and your mindset, we're going to reevaluate this and make sure that this is the right decision because next year we may be somewhere else closer to home, but
Sure.
it's committed to that short
I think
term.
that's
And
important too, right? Where I mean, like it is like every season, like what's best for the development of my
sure,
athlete right now.
100,
Their goals may change, their ability level may change. I'm
yeah,
sure you saw a wide divergence of paths when you start at 10, right? I'll say oftentimes puberty is the great equalizer.
yep,
Very
100,
rarely is the best 10-year-old the best 15-year-old.
right,
Sometimes, especially when it's a kid like yours who was skill versus just raw size. She's a libero, correct?
right, correct.
So
She's
she's not
always
like some 6'4" outside hitter where not that their talent isn't also immense, but like, look, you take two equally talented kids, one's 6'4", one's 5'4".
Right.
the ceiling is different, right? So
Very
she's
much.
not like just the genetic marvel, but you do see a lot. I imagine there were a couple kids on her 10U team that were probably 5'5", 5'6", and you're like, oh my gosh. And then they're 13 and they're still 5'5" or
Yep.
5'6", and you're like, they're not that. So it is a good perspective to just like take a
Yes.
deep breath. Let's see what they look like at 11, 12, 13, 14. Obviously, by the time Ellie is 13, 14, 15, it still looks like this, maybe even more. So she stayed with the same team. Like you knew even at 10, like this is a team that like can go anywhere she wants to go. Obviously, this is the same team that won the national titles then.
Yeah, so her first year they got
Crazy.
third at nationals, down at AAU nationals, and I think that
Huh.
was enough for any 10-year-old
Oh
to
yeah.
spark oh, this is my team. Like next year we're doing this. Next
Uh-huh.
year, and so her 18U team looks the exact same. Let me preface. Her 17U team looks almost the exact same as what it did at her 10U.
That's so
Five
crazy rare. That's wild.
Yeah, so we have half of them. I should say half. Half of them
Okay.
are the same as what she had at 10U. So they are the foundation of girls that went
That
through.
seems about right. Yeah, that's
So
usually the right mix. So a lot of them are very, very talented. But then also, like, look, let's face it, for most girls, Warsaw's a little different. You're so big. But
yeah.
as you get into like these 3A, 2A schools, your five best volleyball players are probably your five starting basketball
Yep.
players. They're
Yep.
probably pretty decent softball players. And if
Yep.
the soccer, wrestling, or swim coach could have at them, they'd take them tomorrow. They'd probably
Exactly
be
right.
your best soccer player, figure it out in a week, right?
Yep.
So
That's
you're getting these kids are getting pulled in like crazy amount of direction. So to have that level of like kind of perseverance and commitment, that's really cool.
yes. And
So,
that's
dude, you know, I ask you where, just curious, like, because you're practicing 2 hours away. Just ballpark. What are some of the high schools that make up your team? It's not just Warsaw or
it's not just
574
Warsaw.
kids. Yeah.
We have the majority of girls. We have two local girls that are there in West Lafayette, and everybody else travels in. So Hamilton Southeastern, we've got several HSE girls. We've got
Mhm.
Tri-West. We have Noblesville. We have Fishers. We have Warsaw. We have Seeger, which is closer around there. Benton Central, closer.
Okay.
McCutcheon.
Hmm.
Um, what am I missing? I think that's the majority. I mean,
Okay.
we have Park Tudor. We have one girl from Park Tudor, but yeah, we try to keep 12 girls on the roster. This year being our senior year, we had 4 that graduated and move on.
Hmm.
So we've got 10 this year, so a little smaller
So I was
roster.
going to ask about that too, because obviously once you start getting into the pay to play, like it's not cheap to
Nope.
do any of these travel sports, not just volleyball. I mean, softball is the same way, basketball, any travel sports, swim, like they're very expensive at times.
Nope.
And so roster size is tricky. So you've coached like 30 plus teams, right? You've coached all different age levels. You followed your daughter. You've also coached teams your daughter's not on. So you've done this for a while. One of the things I think a lot of younger coaches struggle with this debate, especially when that 10, 11, 12 range, when you have twice as many people on your roster that can play, all these girls are young. We don't know where they're going to develop. They all paid thousands of dollars. Was it ever challenging to walk that fine line of everyone deserves an opportunity, but inevitably 6 or 7 of those kids are going to separate themselves and be just a little bit better than maybe some on the bench? So how do you walk that line as a coach? Because I know it weighs on my mind even with 10 and 11-year-old girls.
Yes, and especially at that age. I mean, they all don't develop at the same rate, pace. And so I try to train all of them. Just because you're a middle doesn't mean you're not going to work on ball control,
Mhm.
because you may be the tallest kid and be picked as the center in basketball, and you may be that tallest person now, but just because you're tall now doesn't mean later you're not going to have to be a libero
Right.
and know how to
Well, plus
have
look
ball
at next level,
control.
right? A 6'1" post is a giant,
Right,
and in
right,
basketball, you're a wing when you get to the
right.
Big East or the Big Ten, right? So, yeah, I love that. Like, that's really good for parents at home. We should be developing a complete
Every
wide
skill.
array of skills, not just sticking a tall kid in one position. So, okay, I like that.
Well, and I also think too, when they're younger, what's important is their speed and agility, for
Mm,
these kids. I mean, they shouldn't be doing any weight training. They should be doing maybe some plyometrics. They're doing things with box jumps, and they're working on their foot speed. And because those are things that are going to develop as they develop with more muscle mass and weight. And that's something that will last for them through any sport they play. I mean, that's
mm.
really important. I see all these kids that are paying an obscene amount of money to do private lessons and individual, and they may not even end up in that position later. So you need to train complete body, right? Strength, mental toughness. I mean, that's one of the things, if I could get everybody a mental coach, and provide them with the resources, because girls are their own worst enemy, especially at those ages when hormones kick in and the self-doubt creeps in because they're comparing to everybody's highlights on Instagram reels. I just had this conversation yesterday in a huddle.
Yeah.
My girls want to bury the ball on the 10-foot line at 13U, and it's not always possible. And that's why I told them, this is not about your Instagram highlights. It's about bettering the ball and doing what's best for the team, right? But they all want that. I want that highlight, and so I think for me as a coach, being able to balance it would be to work on them, all of their skills, their mental piece as well as their physical, but then giving all of them the opportunity. In practice, that is your opportunity to showcase your skills, right? I'm putting them all through the same drills. Your playing time is earned in practice. I'm going to put you in safe situations during a game to see what I can get out of you, because some girls are motivated different by pressure. Some like it. I loved pressure. I didn't want to perform in front of 10 people, including my mom and dad. I wanted it to be a gym packed full of people.
Oh,
I
we
wanted
talk about
to
all
be
the time.
able to
Pressure's a gift. What a
I love it.
gift.
Yeah.
What a gift. We get to compete at a higher level, man. Yeah. But it does take a lot of, I think that's some place where as coaches, we can be a very good advocate. How do we talk about pressure? Do our eyes light up and sparkle with what a joyful opportunity this is going to be? Or do we get a little too intense and start screaming and hollering and banging the clipboard, and we transfer that fear onto our athletes, right?
And I'll tell you, I've coached since I was 22. I'm 49. So for me, I'm still working on that. It's
of course.
I mean, it's how, because in those moments, I am tough, and I am, but I don't coach all of my athletes the same way. I have a relationship with them, and I know the ones I can be stern with. I also know the ones that if I look at them intensely, they're going to cry, and I shut them down, so as a coach,
your kids quickly.
When they're 10, 11, 12, getting to know your athlete, and what drives them, I do the Enneagram test with my athletes, to see how is it that I better need to coach you? In what ways are you motivated? Because some people just want to play with their friends. That's their experience. I want to play high school ball because I just want to have fun with my friends.
And
right?
that's totally fine.
And then I have others who are, no, I want a scholarship. I want to play in college. I want to be as competitive. And then you have to figure out how to merge both of those groups with a common goal, right? How do I get both of them on board for the 3 months I have them so that we can exceed expectations and goals that we've set for ourselves?
I love it. I think we've got at least 2 or 3 more shows in here, so I'll just put you in pressure while we're recording. Let's do some more stuff. I really want to. I think we can do some really cool stuff with the. I love the idea. Maybe even Ellie would be interested when we start talking about. I think there's a misnomer in sports. 2 thoughts here. One is that we train skill, but at the end of the day, there are opponents in your sport and in most sports that dictate what we can do. It's not swimming, it's not track. So we've got to work on our body. At the end of the day, everyone is skilled once you get to a high varsity level, especially at a collegiate level. So bigger, faster, stronger, quicker, smarter, tougher is what's going to be the differentiator. But I don't think we train that at a young age. We train, here's your 6 drills, go get your shots up, go practice your serve, go practice your pitching, whatever the sport is. So I think there's something definitely that we can go with on that as well. I think that'd be really fun. And then also when you talk about coaching your athletes, each of them differently, I think what obviously you do exceptionally well in the relationship that you have with your kids and a lot of the coaches we get to talk to is I think we can be very demanding on even very, very young 9, 10, 11-year-old kids, but we've got to have the relationship and the trust first. And I don't know that every youth coach is getting that part right. We're really good at yelling at them. We're really good at fiery speeches. But does that kid know in their bones that you love them? Because when they do, well, you can have those tough conversations. I've had some really tough conversations just with young kids this year that I've known for a while, but they know deep down that I love them and it's a lot easier. That's hard to do if you don't build the relationship first.
Absolutely.
Very difficult to do.
Yep.
So obviously there's a happy ending to this story. I tell you, I'm terrible at a half hour. I looked at I think we're at like 28 minutes. I don't know how. I feel like I just hit
I
record.
know.
So
I
we're
know.
gonna go a couple minutes long. So
Okay.
obviously there's a happy ending to this story. Ellie is living the life of her dream. She's headed to her dream school. She has gotten all the accolades and the awards. But man, it came at quite an effort level for your
Yes.
family. You
Yeah.
have another son who is headed off to play baseball collegiately right here at Grace College.
Yep.
So any of our listeners are very familiar with Grace. We've had Chad, the AD, your AD on. We've had some soccer coaches. I think I got Dan Davis coming on soon. There's
Yes.
pressure if he hears
He's a
this. He's
blast as
confirmed.
well.
So I mean,
Yep.
like we love Grace. So I guess just give some comfort to all the parents out there that it is possible to walk this line because you were volleyball. That's in your core. You're the
Yep.
coach. Your daughter's your star. That is an automatic, massive time amount together and an incredible bond. You have an
It is.
amazing, wonderful relationship with your son and support his career as well, even though it's not a sport you coach or play.
Great. Great.
How do you do that? It's so hard.
It is really hard. It's been, I think, the biggest sacrifice out of all, and I think the blessing in this. So AJ and Ellie are twins, in case people didn't make that correlation. So
I
AJ is,
assumed so, but I was like,
yeah,
well, I
yeah.
was like, I should have asked. I said maybe one of them got held back, and now I'm putting them on blast.
No,
So
no,
I
no.
assumed they were, but okay, that's good. Good.
Yes. So they're twins. And I think the biggest sacrifice has been my relationship with my son because I am with Ellie and her younger sister at volleyball all the time. So that's been really hard. But the blessing in all of it is that I'm going to get that time back with him while he's
Yeah.
at Grace College and here locally. So it's been great because he is so supportive of his sister and vice versa. There's never been any competition. He is so excited for her and she is so excited for him. But I would say, if I'm just to tell you, be honest, that's been the hardest part is just how much time I spend away from my son, doing the volleyball thing with the girls. And in hindsight, I'm like, man, boys volleyball is such a thing now. Maybe I should have taught him, coached him in boys volleyball when he was younger. But
I'm doing a volleyball interview with a woman who is starting the boys volleyball program up at South Bend St. Joe right after we.
okay,
That's it'll be my
okay,
first one too, and then
yeah,
like a
that's
good
awesome.
buddy of mine from college won a gold medal playing volleyball in the Olympics, and we didn't even know boys
Awesome.
volleyball was a sport when I was growing
Yes,
up. I mean,
yeah,
I remember our school tried to start one. Our coaches are like, "Ah, you're like 6'3", you can dunk a ball. You want to play volleyball?" And I'm like, "No." And looking back, I'm like, "Oh man, I missed the
yes,
boat, man."
yes.
So yeah,
But
so boys volleyball is becoming a thing. We're gonna
yes,
be
yeah,
talking about it soon. That's a good
that's
segue.
awesome. Well, and for AJ, I think for him, he is just as committed as Ellie is on, different sport. And the great thing for him probably is that I know nothing about baseball. I still am like, is that a forced out? Like, I have no idea. I just parrot whatever the other parents say. I'm just
Oh,
a
be
loud
careful.
vocal.
That's
You
that's
know, I'm
dangerous.
like, I'm like, you got ducks on the pond. Let's go, bring them in. But
Makes
for
sense.
me, I've always said two things to my kids. One was, did you have fun playing? And then the other
Yeah,
one is, I had so much fun watching you play. Those are the
ain't that
two
the
things
best?
for me. So important. They know even when they get in the car, we're not going to critique the game. Your coach knows better than I do. And so whatever your coach says, you're going to listen to him. But my job is to love and support you, whatever that journey looks like.
That might even be a blessing. Like with my older daughter, because I am her coach, I've been her coach forever. Next year will be very strange because my
Mhm.
younger one will be in middle school and I'll stay with her, and then
Yeah.
my older one will be passing her along to the high school, maybe even varsity ranks, and
Yes. Yeah.
that'll be so weird to watch. But she had a rough game the other day. She's having a very very good season. She's a good ball player. She's grown a lot, but missed a lot of shots
Yeah.
and was wanted some feedback and talked a little bit about, look, there's a difference between playing poorly and missing shots, like at least in
Mhm.
basketball.
Yep.
But I know the sport. I'm her coach, so it's so hard to just
Mhm.
flip back into dad mode.
Yep.
And I had to just like, I really enjoyed watching with your son. I imagine that part is like maybe that's one of the blessings, right?
Yes.
Where like, look, if Ellie goes out and serves 8 balls into the net and shanks a bunch of first balls, like, yeah, you love her. She's still your daughter. She's your favorite player, but she's
Yes.
going to be
Yeah.
the libero at IU. You got
Right.
so
Right.
some coaching is now required, right? So it's
Well,
got to
number
be
one,
really hard to turn that off.
She would serve underhand if she missed 8 serves into the net. We'd be
Well,
warming her
surprised it missed 8 serves since she was a toddler, but I mean, just
right.
say, hypothetically.
So, but I am definitely tougher on my own kids than I am others, and unfortunately
Well,
people sometimes don't realize that. They think, oh, they get special treatment. No, no,
well,
they
they do.
don't.
It's just it's way harsher. Like,
Right, it is. It
oh
is.
yeah,
And
yeah.
always, I think an important thing too, maybe even to end on, is that, when you coach your own kids, I've always had that conversation with Ellie, and we've known from a young age. If either one of us disrespects the other, and this is something we can't continue, we are going to speak up and say, we're done doing this, because it's not
Hmm.
worth hurting our relationship, for a
Amen.
sport. As much as we love the sport, it's not worth it. And so if you do coach your own child,
Amen.
just making sure you have that in the forefront of knowing, I'm not going to sacrifice my relationship with you because of the sport. And maybe it's time that I let somebody else, come in and coach you and move on.
So I think
So,
that's good to have that calibration conversation, because I think we
mhm.
all know it and we would all say it, but then in that moment, right, as we're riding the bus home or as we're coming back from the game and it was a tough one and it was an emotional one, can we always separate it? So I'll be personal with you here. Have you guys ever had the conversation where one of you said, not necessarily that we've crossed the red line, but
Yeah.
that hey, we might be getting close to where we need to recalibrate? Has that, did you ever have to have that conversation?
No, we didn't. But I will say, my kids and their personalities. My youngest, Eden, is in middle school. She's a seventh grader, completely different than Ellie.
Hmm.
Ellie is very respectful, very humble. She's more of that first child mindset, very responsible. Eden is the baby. It's a little different. She's more sassy. Ellie will never
Sounds
be
so familiar.
disrespectful and say anything that I would look cross at. But I can tell when she's had enough, because when I'm coaching her on the court, she will just side eye me. She'll turn and look like, that's it, I've had enough. But we've never gotten close enough to that, where we've had to have that conversation. But I will
Awesome.
say, I am glad she's going on to college now. Like I can tell it's just time. She's learned
Yeah.
what she can from me, and it's time for her to be challenged and move on with someone else. But my younger one, you may want to come back to me in a few years and ask me, if I resign from Warsaw soon, you'll know
Is that what it
why.
is? Yeah, my young one's gonna hate this show because we clown her a lot on here, but
Yeah,
she's just
yeah,
wired for it. She's just so intense. But
yes,
yeah,
yes.
if there's one that I'll butt heads with, though. Oh, I asked this question too. This will be my last question for you. I ask this of every coach, and it's more just teasing my youngest daughter. So when you are in the gym, what does Ellie call you? Is it coach or is it mom?
Oh, it's coach.
Is it? Same here.
Coach.
My daughter is fanatical about it. Like, it's even as we pull into the parking lot, it's coach. But I've talked to others. I think it was like Lenny said, and Caitlin were like, "Oh, it was just dad." And I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
So I've heard completely different answers. But so who made that decision? Was that her or you?
I think it was me from the
Uh-huh.
beginning, so that we always kept proper perspective
Yeah.
about, I'm coach on the court, I'm mom at home. So if we're on the bus, maybe like she'll say, "Hey, mom," or I always know when the girls on the team want something, because they always send Ellie. Ellie's the one to be like, "Hey, mom," and I'm like,
It's mom.
I know it's coming. I know. Hey, mom, because I don't let them have their phones on the bus.
I was gonna say it's hey mom when it's a team outing or
So
something fun, and
yeah,
it's hey
yeah.
coach when it's what kind of alignment
Yep.
are we starting out in? Or so yeah, I think we're the same way at our house, and
Yep.
people who don't know sports aren't around it much have like cracked up laughing. They're like, I've had a few people be like, did Peyton just call you coach? And I was like, yeah, she's in basketball mode.
Yeah, that's all right.
I was like,
That's
we're not in practice right now, but she's in basketball mode around her teammates, and I was like, okay, so.
well, and even funny, this is so Eden will call me Chandra when she needs to get my attention. Like if I'm not
That's
hearing her, and I mean, I coach girls that have a lot of moms. Like their moms are around, so they're always yelling "mom."
yeah,
So
there's a
if
lot
I
of moms in the
respond to
building.
her, she'll say Chandra if we're at a convention center or something. Ellie would never even dream of doing that. Eden, she just slips it right in there. So
Sounds a lot like our house. Well, I'll say whatever you are doing, it is clear you have done it incredibly well. Look, there's a lot of check marks for success, and it's super easy to check the boxes that the world wants to check, right?
Yeah.
D1 scholarship, win some awards, win a national title, and those things are amazing. It's wonderful. It's biblical that we're permitted and encouraged to strive for greatness, to be victorious, to be champions. But man, the boxes that you're really checking, I would just say are so much more important, that you guys have this level of relationship, that she has this level of impact in the community, that she's having this impact on her teammates, and that you're able to do this not just for her, but for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of other girls. So as we wind down, just thank you for spending some time with us. It's an absolute blessing. We'll be praying for you and the Warsaw Tigers. We'll be praying for Ellie and the Indiana Hoosiers, and praying for your son and all the Grace baseball team and seasons. And I just imagine amazing things are coming for all of your family. So thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Chris. Thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so let's get back together soon. We're going to talk a little bit about some plyo stuff and some other types of training. We're going to don't worry, guys. We're going to talk a lot more with Chandra. We're not letting her go too far.
Sounds good. I can't wait.
All right. Well, thank you for your time and have a wonderful day. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
Right.
We appreciate it.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for tuning in to the Play in Faith podcast. If you love what you heard, please take a moment to rate our show and share it with your friends and fellow athletes. Together, we can spread the joy and positivity that youth sports deserves. And be sure to visit playinfaith.com for more fantastic resources. We're on a mission to build a vibrant community of Christian athlete mentors that are not just a voice your athlete will listen to, but one they should. Until next time, keep playing in faith.